Welcome back to the channel where we explore the most shocking and emotional stories from 90 Day Fiancé. Tonight, we share a story that feels more like a dramatic novel than reality TV, full of love, betrayal, heartbreak, and surprising twists. At the center of this drama are Gino Palazzolo, Jasmine Pineda, and Natalie. Recently, after Gino and Jasmine broke up, Gino seemed ready for a fresh start with his new girlfriend, Natalie. The two were seen enjoying time together at several five-star hotels, signaling that Gino had moved on. Then came the big news. Natalie announced, "I'm pregnant. I'm carrying Gino Palazzolo's child." A hospital DNA test later confirmed it. Natalie was indeed expecting Gino's baby. With joy in their hearts, they are planning to marry officially on January 4th, 2026. Meanwhile, Jasmine's life took a painful turn. She asked her new boyfriend Matt to marry her, but he rejected her, saying, "Jasmine, I can't marry you. I'm committed to my girlfriend Anna. I will marry her this January." In that instant, Jasmine was left completely alone. Gino was gone, Matt had rejected her, and her world was shattered. This isn't just another breakup. It's a story of endings, beginnings, shattered dreams, and new hope. The cameras may have stopped rolling, but the tension between Gino and Jasmine never faded. Their love, once full of passion, slowly turned into arguments, mistrust, and silence. For months, fans watched as Jasmine accused Gino of betrayal while he tried to prove his loyalty. Every conversation became a battle, and every silence felt like a wound. The final straw came one quiet evening. Jasmine, her voice trembling, asked, "Gino, do you even love me anymore?" Gino paused, exhausted, and whispered, "Jasmine, I can't do this anymore." Those words broke her heart. Jasmine had believed Gino would always fight for their love, but the weight of constant conflict had become unbearable for him. Their breakup wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and haunting. As Jasmine packed her things, her eyes showed both anger and sorrow. Gino stood still, unable to speak or move. Their chapter was over. For Gino, the end with Jasmine opened a door to a new chapter with Natalie. Natalie didn't enter his life with chaos. She was calm, composed, and caring, catching Gino's attention immediately. Their first meeting was a casual dinner with friends, but their connection grew quickly. Natalie listened in a way Jasmine never had, without interrupting, judging, or arguing. For Gino, being with her felt like breathing fresh air after years of suffocation. Within weeks, their bond deepened. Natalie encouraged Gino to let go of his bitterness and embrace a brighter future. Their moments together became public, with sightings at luxury hotels that symbolized a new start. Gino was finally smiling, laughing, and living without fear of arguments or accusations. Friends noticed the change in him. The man who had been broken by Jasmine's temper was rebuilding himself with Natalie's gentle presence. Whispers circulated among fans. Was Gino moving too fast? Could Natalie truly heal his heart? For now, Gino didn't care. He was living in the moment. Natalie had more to share. Her pregnancy news shocked Gino and the 90 Day Fiancé world. For him, the end of the relationship with Jasmine left scars, but with Natalie, those scars began to fade. Their love wasn't hidden. It was in shared laughter, quiet moments, and the joy of rediscovering happiness together. From Miami to New York and Las Vegas, their time in hotels wasn't about luxury. It was about intimacy, closeness, and rebuilding trust. Natalie wanted Gino to feel loved and cherished, showing him that love could be gentle and real. Gino, once hesitant to show affection, now embraced it openly. This story isn't just about drama or heartbreak. It's about moving forward, finding love again, and discovering that life can be rebuilt even after betrayal. For Gino and Natalie, the future is full of hope, happiness, and a family to grow together. Meanwhile, Jasmine is left to face her own reality, a life without Gino and without Matt, learning the hard lessons of choices, love, and consequences. Her story is far from over, but the path she faces is now filled with uncertainty and reflection. The saga of Gino, Jasmine, and Natalie is a reminder that life isn't scripted and love doesn't always follow the path we expect. It's messy, emotional, and often full of unexpected turns, but it's real, and the consequences are as real as the heartbreak and joy that follow. Would you like me to continue rewriting the next chapter of this story in the same simple style? He kissed Natalie openly, smiled for the cameras, and carried himself with a confidence fans hadn't seen in years. The man who had been broken was now glowing, and the world noticed. But behind the glamour, people started to whisper. Was Gino rushing into something too quickly? Was Natalie truly the right person for him? Or just a distraction from the pain of Jasmine's rejection? Fans debated endlessly, but Gino didn't care. For him, these hotel escapes were more than vacations. They were proof that he had stepped into a new phase of life. Yeah, as the champagne glasses clinked and laughter filled the air, Natalie carried a secret. A secret that would soon change their love story in ways no one could have imagined. While the world saw luxury and romance, Natalie knew the truth. She was carrying Gino's child. Every love story has a moment that changes everything. For Gino and Natalie, that moment didn't come in a hotel suite or over candlelit dinners, but during a quiet, private conversation. Natalie had been keeping a secret for weeks. She smiled at dinners, laughed at Gino's jokes, and held his hand as if nothing had changed. But inside, she knew her life was shifting. One evening, in a dimly lit lounge, Natalie spoke. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. Gino, I'm pregnant. I'm carrying your child. The silence that followed was deafening. Gino froze, his mind spinning. For a man who had just escaped the chaos of his past, this news felt like both a blessing and a storm. His eyes widened, his breath caught, and for a moment he couldn't speak. Natalie reached for his hand, her grip firm, her gaze steady. She wasn't afraid of his reaction. She wasn't asking for permission. She was simply telling the truth. When Gino finally found his voice, it was shaky but sincere. Are you sure? Natalie nodded. Soon, a hospital DNA test confirmed it. There was no room for doubt. Natalie was indeed expecting Gino's child. The news spread quickly. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé were shocked, excited, and full of questions. Was Gino ready to be a father? Would Natalie's pregnancy bring stability or ignite new drama? For Gino, the emotions were overwhelming. He had dreamed of having a family before, but those dreams were shattered with Jasmine. Now, with Natalie, they felt possible again. He wasn't just starting over, he was building something new, something lasting. Natalie embraced the joy of motherhood. She spoke openly about her hopes, her fears, and her determination to give their child a loving life. She wasn't chasing fame. She was chasing a future, a family, a home. Together, they stood on the edge of a new chapter. The luxury hotels and romantic escapes symbolized love, but this pregnancy symbolized life itself, a bond stronger than scandal or heartbreak. As January 4th, 2026 approached, the day of their wedding, the world watched closely. Gino and Natalie weren't just lovers anymore. They were soon to be parents, stepping into a future filled with both joy and challenges. The proposal had been quiet and intimate. Gino, nervous but determined, slipped a ring onto Natalie's finger during a private dinner. Natalie, you've given me hope again. Will you marry me? He asked. Her answer was immediate, her voice trembling with joy. Yes, Gino. Yes, I will. From that moment, their lives shifted into preparation mode. Wedding planners were contacted, venues explored, and guest lists formed. The couple wanted a ceremony filled with sincerity, a reflection of their love and resilience. Fans reacted with mixed emotions. Some celebrated their courage, praising Gino for finding stability. Others questioned the timing, wondering if it was too soon after Jasmine's heartbreak. But for Gino and Natalie, public opinion didn't matter. Their focus was on building a family and a life together. Natalie, glowing with pregnancy, embraced her role as bride-to-be. She spoke of excitement, fears, and her determination to make the wedding a symbol of love, not spectacle. Gino carried himself with confidence. He was no longer a man escaping scandal. He was a man stepping into his future. Every day leading to January 4th was filled with anticipation. For Gino, it wasn't just about vows, it was about redemption. It was about proving to himself, Natalie, and the world that he could love, commit, and build a life. While Gino and Natalie's path seemed bright, Jasmine's was collapsing. She had hoped to rebuild her life after Gino, placing her trust in Matt. Weeks of shared dreams had convinced her he could give her the stability she craved. Then came the moment she had been waiting for. One evening, nervous but hopeful, Jasmine asked Matt, "Will you marry me?" His response was a dagger to her heart. "Jasmine, I can't marry you. I'm committed to someone else. Her name is Anna, and I will marry her this coming January." The silence that followed crushed her. Jasmine's world collapsed instantly. The man she trusted and hoped could heal her heartbreak had not only rejected her, but revealed a secret that destroyed her dreams. Gino was gone, and now Matt had betrayed her. Her tears flowed freely, her body trembling as reality sank in. She was alone, facing heartbreak she never expected, while Gino moved forward into love, family, and hope with Natalie. Jasmine's story was far from over, but her path was now uncertain, filled with loss, reflection, and the harsh lesson that life and love are not always fair. Gino and Natalie's story rose like a phoenix from the ashes of heartbreak, while Jasmine faced the ruins of her own choices. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. One story of new beginnings, one of shattered dreams. Would you like me to continue and rewrite the next 1,000 words of this story in the same simple style? Jasmine sat alone in her apartment, staring blankly at the walls. The air felt heavy, as if the room itself mourned with her. Every plan she had made, every hope she had clung to, seemed to crumble around her. Gino was gone. Matt had rejected her. And now she was faced with the terrifying weight of solitude. The silence was suffocating. Her phone buzzed occasionally with messages she didn't want to read. Friends tried to comfort her, but even their words felt hollow. No one could undo the sting of betrayal, the sudden collapse of dreams she had thought were certain. For days, Jasmine barely ate or slept. She replayed the moments in her head, each memory now tainted with regret and confusion. The laughter she once shared with Gino now echoed like a cruel reminder of what she had lost. The sweet words she had whispered to Matt felt like lies. She wondered how quickly her life could change, how fragile her sense of stability really was. She tried to distract herself. Shopping, walking in the park, scrolling through social media. Nothing filled the emptiness. Every picture of Gino and Natalie, every post hinting at their joy, stabbed at her heart. The world seemed to move on without her. She felt frozen in time, unable to step forward. Eventually, Jasmine realized she could not stay passive. Pain and heartbreak were one thing, but humiliation, anger, and resentment were another. She needed action not to hurt others, but to regain control over her life. She decided to cut off all contact with Matt. She blocked his messages and deleted him from social media. The decision was painful but necessary. If she clung to him, she would remain trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment. Days turned into weeks, and Jasmine began to see the faintest glimmer of clarity. She started journaling, pouring her feelings onto paper. Every word she wrote helped unburden her heart. Slowly, she began to confront the reality of her past choices, the obsession with Gino, the misplaced trust in Matt, and the way she had built her happiness around other people rather than herself. It was a bitter lesson, but it was hers. Meanwhile, Gino and Natalie were moving forward at a whirlwind pace. Their days were filled with wedding planning, medical appointments, and preparing for the arrival of their child. Natalie's belly was beginning to show, and Gino was radiant with pride. He helped her through every discomfort, every mood swing, every worry. There was a sense of purpose in their lives now that had been missing for years. Friends and family who had once doubted their relationship now marveled at their chemistry. The couple seemed unshakable. The bond between them was no longer just romantic, it was becoming a family, a team, and a source of stability for both. Gino, once anxious and cautious, now walked taller, smiled wider, and embraced life with renewed vigor. Natalie's support had restored something deep inside him that had been lost with Jasmine. The wedding day, January 4th, 2026, arrived with elegance and simplicity. Close friends and family gathered, and the atmosphere was filled with warmth, laughter, and love. There were no unnecessary dramas, no tensions hanging in the air, just a couple ready to commit to a life together. Natalie looked radiant in her simple white dress. Gino could barely take his eyes off her. When they exchanged vows, their voices trembled with emotion, but the words were true and unwavering. "I promise to love you, support you, and build a life with you," Gino whispered, holding Natalie's hands tightly. "I promise to stand by you through every challenge, every joy, and every moment in between," Natalie replied, tears glistening in her eyes. As they kissed, the crowd erupted in cheers. For Gino, this wasn't just a wedding, it was redemption. It was the proof that he could move past heartbreak and rebuild a life of love and stability. And for Natalie, it was the start of a family, a home, and a future she had always dreamed of. Back in her apartment, Jasmine watched snippets of the ceremony online. Her chest tightened as she saw Gino smiling, holding Natalie close. She tried to tell herself it was just life moving forward, but the images reminded her of her own losses. The pain was still sharp, but now it was accompanied by understanding. She realized that she had clung too long to people who could not give her the love and respect she deserved. Jasmine began to take small steps toward rebuilding her life. She focused on her career, her health, and her friendships. Each day, she practiced letting go of resentment and accepting reality. It wasn't easy. Every post about Gino and Natalie, every mention of their pregnancy, was a reminder of her past, but she gradually replaced envy with hope. She began to believe that she could still find happiness, just not with the people she had lost. In the months that followed, Jasmine started exploring her passions. She traveled to new cities, reconnected with old friends, and even started a small business online. It was nothing extravagant, but it was hers. She was creating a life independent of the men who had defined her for so long. The process was slow, but it was steady. Meanwhile, Gino and Natalie prepared for the arrival of their child. The couple attended prenatal classes, set up a nursery, and talked endlessly about the kind of parents they wanted to be. Gino, once hesitant to embrace fatherhood, now felt ready and excited. Natalie's strength and optimism had inspired him to believe in his own ability to nurture, protect, and love unconditionally. The birth was both beautiful and challenging. Gino held Natalie's hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement, and never left her side. When their baby finally arrived, tears streamed down Gino's face. Natalie smiled through exhaustion, holding their child close. It was a moment of pure joy, a reward for the pain, trials, and heartbreak that had come before. Jasmine, seeing the news online, felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness because she had once imagined a life with Gino, but relief because she now understood that she was no longer trapped in that story. She could finally step into her own life, free from the weight of past mistakes and heartbreak. Months turned into a year. Gino, Natalie, and their child flourished together. Their home was filled with laughter, warmth, and love. Jasmine, too, found her footing. She made new friends, pursued her passions, and slowly, the pain of rejection transformed into wisdom. She learned that happiness doesn't come from clinging to others. It comes from building a life that is true to yourself. The stories of heartbreak and triumph continued to ripple through the 90-Day Fiancé universe. Fans watched, debated, and sometimes judged, but the real drama had long moved behind the cameras. Life had become about survival, resilience, and moving forward. Gino had found his family. Natalie had found her partner and a child to love. Jasmine had found herself. In the end, all three learned a harsh truth. Love can heal, but only if it is nurtured in the right place, with the right person, and with respect for everyone involved. The past was painful, but it had shaped them. The future was uncertain, but full of possibility. And so life went on. Gino and Natalie thrived as a family. Jasmine continued to rebuild and redefine her path. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the shocking revelations, they were all part of a story that was no longer about reality TV drama, but about resilience, courage, and the power to start over. The world had watched their lives from a distance, but the truth was simple. Love, loss, and growth are messy, but they are also necessary. Every ending brings a beginning, and every heartbreak carries a lesson. For Gino, Natalie, and Jasmine, life had moved forward, painful, beautiful, and real. Would you like me to continue and rewrite the next 1,000 words covering the months after the birth and how Jasmine rebuilds her personal life in detail? Jasmine took her first steps toward a new life cautiously. The heartbreak with Gino and Matt had left deep scars, but she refused to let them define her future. She began by focusing on herself, her health, her career, and her passions. Early mornings were spent jogging through quiet streets, clearing her mind, and reclaiming a sense of control over her body and her thoughts. She joined yoga classes and meditation sessions, learning to breathe through anxiety and tension. Her social life slowly expanded. Friends who had remained loyal during her darkest days became pillars of support. They listened without judgment